right. If I've done my job correctly, you're now looking at a PowerPoint.
Okay.
Huzzah. Now, so if anyone's not here for getting out while staying in, get out. If you go back to the to the original link, you can find you can have help finding where you need to go. But here we go, volunteers in mission. Here's a little, everyone's been doing this for a year, but I wanted to just take a moment and remind us of some Zoom etiquette. You're welcome to chime in with additional favorites, but if you're on a laptop, then on your Zoom screen, on the left-hand bottom, there is the option for you to mute yourself. And there's also the option for you to stop your camera, stop your video link. And there are advantages to this for all the participants. If you happen to be in a house where your spouse is watching a football match or your children are fighting over something, if you put yourself on mute, then it doesn't provide a distraction for the rest of the folks. And then also, if you're eating potato chips, it's a good thing to have the mic on mute. If you're eating spaghetti, it's a good thing to turn off the camera, because that can be a little bit of a challenge for everyone. Stay focused and aware of your surroundings. Sometimes we get in front of one of these screens. I had an example this morning. I tuned in at 8:30, and I was just finishing my breakfast, and all of a sudden, Dawn Taylor Storm came up on the screen, and I thought, oh, I'm eating a piece of toast, but she couldn't see me because it wasn't set up that way. Our meeting today is set up that if you don't turn your camera off, people will have the possibility of observing you while you're doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah, okay.
And then, if anyone's having any technical issues, please scream right away, because we can see about making adjustments so that you can fully participate. It's I guess the only one that won't work is, if I say, can everyone hear me? Of course, the people who can hear me will respond positively, and those who can't, well, how would we
Won't respond?
So if you, I am going to show a number of video segments, and I believe they won't buffer. But if you experience buffering, none of them is longer than 3 minutes, and it'll just be a little unsatisfying because the audio and the visual don't match up. But it's not going to last longer than 3 minutes. All right. So, well, with that said, let's just let's take a moment and center ourselves and make sure that we're asking God for presence and purpose today. Let's pray. Now, gracious God, all around us is of your making, and we thank you for this day and the blessing of one another's company as we seek to serve you, and we seek to facilitate in your congregations that in each of our places of ministry, we may find ways of delighting your heart of love. Bless the ministry of Volunteers in Mission to serve your children and to serve your will. Now, all of these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Now, I'm going to run this like you may not have heard about Volunteers in Mission before. And so feel free to butt in as many times as you wish. And I'll just plod along. I'll kind of keep us on timetable. And we'll go through and see what happens. So. The history of Volunteers in Mission. Volunteers in Mission is a fascinating ministry within the United Methodist Church. It's probably about the most Methodist of all the ministries in the United Methodist Church, because lay people started it in the Southeast jurisdiction. People with hammers and saws saw when seasonal disasters, when storms came through and people needed help. They just loaded up the truck and moved to the next county and started helping people recover from storms. And before too long, the church decided it better organize these people and get them under an umbrella. And that's when Volunteers in Mission came into being. That was about the mid-70s, just about the time of the bicentennial. And it's a short-term mission arm of the United Methodist Church. Volunteers in Mission, our motto is Christian love in action. And we train, equip, and connect and mobilize volunteers to reach out responsibly in ways that make a Christian difference in the lives of our neighbors, close at home and around the world. Now that's what we've been doing from 1976 until 2020. And in 2020, things changed quite dramatically because of the pandemic. During the pandemic, I was just talking to Tom Lank 2 weeks ago. Tom Lank is the Northeast Jurisdiction Volunteers in Mission Coordinator. And he says that applications for insurance for volunteer teams ended when the pandemic began. So things have changed for us. There are not teams going out as well. There aren't teams going out because it's not responsible to be moving about during the pandemic. So one of the things that I'll look forward to talking with you about up ahead in this session is ways to be involved in mission when you're staying at home. So, and what is the future? The future for Volunteers in Mission does look promising. There is a pent up interest in getting out and doing things. The people who before the pandemic were interested in moving out and helping with educational and medical and construction ministries, ministries of witness on a short-term basis, they're still interested in doing those things. And so as it becomes obvious that it's safer to move about, volunteers in mission groups will be moving about. So we can talk about that and also talk about what to do before that happens, coming up during the rest of the session. So, I'm going to stop there for a second and see whether anyone has whether everyone needs any clarification on that, or whether anybody was thinking there was something else that would be covered. Okay, I must be doing well. All right, I will move along then. We don't just collect people and go somewhere. We don't just start doing things, but we have a theology of mission. And it's important to understand because there are different reasons why people do things. Certainly within the church, we expect to have a theology for why we do things. Various church groups and organizations may have different theological emphasis, but for volunteers in mission, how would we think about our theology of mission? The first thing we do is we know that it is God's mission first and foremost, extending from creation to completion. You can't really be a United Methodist volunteers in mission without being about the project of imagining your part in a mission that is God ordained somewhere on the path from Genesis, the creation, to Revelation, the completion. So it's really a reflection of the whole Bible is what we're attempting to live out as we engage in volunteers and mission projects. Now, another point is it's part of God's plan to redeem creation. If you look at that famous chapter in Romans chapter 8, that was such an influence to St. Augustine and such an inspiration to Martin Luther and a turning point in the life of John Wesley. You will find God's redeeming plan. We hope to serve in volunteers in mission as part of that redeeming work, as a response to it, and in order to magnify that work. We're servant ministers, so it's a self-emptying service with the least, the last, and the lost in the footsteps of Jesus Christ. If you think about the Sermon on the Mount, a beautiful way to meditate before going on a volunteers in mission project. Matthew in chapter 5, 3 through 12, the Beatitudes, which are a very big constituent of the Sermon on the Mount. It's a beautiful way to contemplate before and during a volunteers in mission trip. You know, so much of our lives now with extreme sports, there are so many people who get involved in extreme ministry, and a good reflection is does this rhyme? Does this have is this in harmony with the ministry that Jesus offered up on the Sermon on the Mount. So with that, I'm just going to stop again and see whether everybody's on board. I haven't really. All right. Any interactions? That there are only 10 of us, so actually someone could get talkative. All right, then. I'm going to launch into the first video. This addresses the question, what do you do when you're stuck in a quarantine, but you're still interested in being involved in mission and ministry? So, a little bit of background. Volunteers in Mission is a spirit-led ministry. Volunteers in Mission is a Christian witness. Volunteers in Mission is a way of offering Christ's love. Volunteers in Mission is an economy. There are various mission sites throughout the United States and throughout the world that have been habituated, have been accustomed to receiving teams and being able to do their work. One of the things that happens in Volunteers in Mission is that funds are transferred from relatively wealthy places to places that are in financial need. So whether you're going down the street, you know, an elementary thing, did somebody in the neighborhood have a fire? And are you going to offer an apple pie or some cleaning materials? That's a transfer taking place. Or whether you're going to Red Bird Missionary Conference, or whether you're going to Mexico, these are all spirit-led opportunities to offer the love of Christ, and they're also economic transfers. A lot of our partners in ministry, whether it be across the United States or around the world, are suffering financially because our teams can't move out and make the contact and be in the relationship that they've been accustomed to. So how about going on a virtual mission? I'm going to show this video and then we'll stop and talk about it later. And just imagine your congregation going on a virtual mission like this one. Try to take it all in. I think it's a little fast myself, but we'll talk about what we saw and what we didn't see. Just as soon as I become competent with the media here.
I want to start by reading just a couple selected verses from the song, the Servant Song. Some of you may know that. Brother, let me be your servant. Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I might have the grace to let you be my servant too. We are pilgrims on a journey. We are brothers on the road. We are here to help each other, walk the mile and bear the load. I will weep when you are weeping. When you laugh, I'll laugh with you. I will share your joy and sorrow till we've seen the journey through.
You're my brother, you're my sister, so take me by the hand. Together we will work until he comes back again. There's no foe that can defeat us, and we walking side by side. As long as there is love, we will stand. Tú eres mi hermano y mi hermana, tomados de la mano. Juntos caminaremos hasta que Él nos venga a llevar. No hay infierno que nos venza si juntos trabajamos. Siempre que hay amor, venceremos. Tú eres mi hermano y mi hermana, tomados de la mano. Juntos caminaremos hasta que nos venga a llevar. No hay infierno que nos venza si juntos trabajamos. Siempre que hay amor, venceremos. You're my brother, you're my sister, so take me by the hand. Together we will work until he comes back again. There's no foe that can defeat us if we walking side by side. As long as there is love, we will stand. As long as there is love, we will stand.
All right, now I quickly need to get rid of that before the next. There we go. And I'll do that. And well, what did you see?
Diversity,
Oh, yes.
unity. And it looked like a whole bunch of people on Zoom.
It did move a little fast, but what I gathered out of it is that the world's a large place, but yet we can still help from afar.
Mm,
Looked to me like it was a virtual fundraising to send resources to an on-the-ground team in the Honduras area.
well, that it truly was. Yeah.
And maybe in another sense that no matter what the situation is, that we can still spread Christ's love to one another in whatever the situation.
I was a little intrigued to see 9 teams noted,
Oh, yeah.
given that most of them were not in country.
Uh-huh. Now, I spoke with Becky Parsons. I stumbled across the video a few days ago, and I noticed Becky Parsons, who's a mission advocate for the Northeast jurisdiction. She grew up north of Stroudsburg on the Delaware River. She's Eastern Pennsylvania Conference person. And she told me that one of the things that really impressed her about this particular virtual mission was that all of the things that they always intended to do, according to the book, Volunteers in Mission previously, they finally ended up doing. Teams that gather around the project are supposed to learn about the culture of the place they're going to. They're supposed to become very sensitive to the mannerisms, the etiquette, and the customs of the receiving congregation, the receiving organization. Becky was actually reflecting that in a lot of ways, it was really helpful to contemplate non-pandemic mission by engaging in virtual mission, because there's a certain outlined clarity to what's going on. Neat. Well, so here's an interesting question. If you had the job of pitching a virtual mission to the people of your congregation, but do you, what would you see as the value of it? And what would you still want to know? So someone in your congregation said, doggone it, we're just sitting here on the stump and I'm going stir crazy. And what can we do? And you had it in your mind just to pop open the possibility of a virtual mission. Well, I can see you're all being too polite and you don't want to jump all over this. So what I'm going to do, because that was a fairly rapid description of a virtual mission. I'm going to share another virtual mission with you. And so now you'll have something to compare the Honduras mission with. And this one is Pueblo in Mexico. Did you get that? Are you looking at a YouTube screen right now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. right, let me just get rid of that screen so it doesn't start singing at us again. And there we go. Well,
Could you maybe just explain a little bit more about what a virtual, like I understand like what an in-person, like what people do in an in-person mission trip. So can you explain to us, I guess, what participants are doing in a virtual one? If that might be helpful to the rest of the group, I don't know.
well,
Yeah.
good. You know, that's a good thing. What is going on? Well, obviously, the way you're interacting with the other people on the team and on the site is not person to person, but it's over Zoom, right? So, you know, depending upon how you keep your home, you may, you know, it may be hot or it may be cold. It has nothing to do with the site that is the focus of the virtual mission. So the intention, as with regular volunteers in mission journey, is to share and learn and grow in Christ. So you may be taken on a virtual tour. For instance, there we were looking at some domesticated animals, some farm animals. There we were looking at some planting that was going on. Not only would participants see the virtual, have the virtual tour, but they'd also be responsible for doing some study during the period set aside for the virtual mission experience. So they'd learn about Puebla, Mexico. They'd learn about the economics, the situation there. They'd learn about the faith life of the community there. They'd share their faith life with the people in Puebla. You know, going on a mission to Mexico costs a number of thousands of dollars. There's the transportation costs, there's the insurance costs, there's the donation that's made for supplies, there's room and board, there's transportation when you're in situ, when you're in place. Those expenses aren't incurred in Zoom, and yet the receiving site, you know, in order to maintain the ministry they have there, they need support, and so the object of the Eastern Pennsylvania Volunteers in Mission Team, one of the objectives would be to raise a set target goal for what the project is involved in that week, or that 5 days, or that 12 days, whatever the mission, whatever it was decided the mission would do. So likely you wouldn't get splinters, you wouldn't hit your thumbnail with a hammer, but you participate by observation and by hearing, and then you know, perhaps a shared recipe for a common dish in the place that you're volunteering to. And was that what you were looking for, Julia?
Sure. So I guess the idea of a virtual mission trip would be to still have that personal connection, learning from each other, but then also help them financially. So the piece that I guess is missing is the hands-on help, but everything else is still kind of happening. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, yeah, the possibilities of typing strain are there, but that's about it. It's you know, you might too enthusiastically move your mouse and you know, get some kind of injury. But yeah, it's just impossible now, which is something I was going to touch upon a little later, but you know, it's germane to the conversation. It's simply irresponsible to be moving around now, because when we move around, we introduce the possibility of COVID into places. You know, of the places I've gone to, I haven't heard about vaccines being distributed in Haiti. You know, going on a mission trip to Haiti from Eastern Pennsylvania, where finally we're starting to get our transmission rates going down and our vaccine rates going up. You know, moving from an area like this to Haiti, where I simply haven't heard of any vaccine distribution, that where we'd just be passing COVID on into another environment. So yeah, it's a challenge. A matter of fact, it's you know, it's even a challenge as stateside. You know, I was speaking to the coordinator for Redbird Missionary Conference about 5 weeks ago, and they have had half a dozen teams come in, but they've been very careful about hygiene. They've been very careful about keeping teams separate from other teams, keeping teams separate from the staff, so that there's a reduced likelihood of transmission. But even as you know, we're anticipating coming out of the pandemic, we'll have to be vigilant about doing those things to reduce the possibility of COVID transmission for some time to come. So, well, now.
So that was a question, you know, like even post COVID, this seems like it could be a valuable way of doing things. In one manner, we have a lot of the resources that we would otherwise be spending on travel and preparations, and not necessarily benefiting the you know, the recipient of the support. More of those resources, when you do fundraising, can go directly to supporting a smaller team on the ground, and we can still be connected in this way virtually, and maybe there's an upside in that you can get more participants, because people that would not normally have the time, resources, or energy to go on a mission trip could certainly come in virtually and still partake and be a part and share in the love and help. Is this not true?
Yeah, beautiful. That's a fascinating aspect of virtual virtual volunteers in Mission Journey. And of course, Jason, within that description, was talking about the possibility of a hybrid model, where there's a small group that's going and there's a larger group that's participating more actively because of the enhanced aptitude that our congregations have with Zoom now, and various media. it means that there are more ways that we can involve people in mission.
So how
Which,
would we get our churches kind of connected to doing a virtual mission trip?
what was there a how on the front of that? I didn't get the first.
Yes, how? Sorry.
How? All right. Well, I'm going to be irritating, and I'm going to leave that question for just a little while, because I'm going to take you on a tour of the Volunteers in Mission website a little bit later, and that will answer that question. It's a good question, and I know it's irritating for me not to answer it right now. I wanted to just introduce the subject to you, so that you could start ruminating about how would I involve my congregation in one of these. So, well, good.
Russell?
You.
Vern Kiefer. I'm straddling a fence here in terms of volunteers in mission and first response teams. Can you differentiate from your perspective as a coordinator, what separates a volunteer and mission team from a first response team or a crisis?
Sure. Now, we don't have first response teams in the United Methodist Church unless a disaster happens outside your front door. And
Right.
then when you walk over to your neighbor and offer help, you're a first responder, but you're not really trained as one.
Well, what is it that we have the response trailer for? I think it was in Douglasville.
Very good. So that I'm going to split a hair with you, Bern, but it's a good hair to split. We have
It's a little different. So when you set up the webinar, so for all webinars that I set up, I enable a setting that says enable practice code. So if that's not.
Well, I'll just speak louder. ERT, early response teams.
That's the one.
After, after the Red Cross and the National Guard are in an area, then when the utilities have been,
That allows everyone.
civil order has been, when civil order has been restored, then it's possible for early response teams to go in.
Yeah.
So an early response team is responsible to be able to feed themselves, provide themselves with potable water, and provide themselves with their own energy supply. So you imagine a hurricane. A hurricane goes through, and all the power is down, the utilities are gone. But the police and the National Guard have already restored civil order, right? So you're not just walking into mayhem, but it's time to recover. And then an ERT, an early response team, can be deployed. They do elementary things like assessing houses to make see if are there people dwelling there or not. All right. So it's a disaster area. What is a volunteers in mission team? A volunteers in mission team is probably some months after a disaster occurs, when civil order has been restored, but also utilities are back up and running, and the supermarkets are stocking their shelves again. And then a volunteers in mission group can go into a safe civil environment in which the utilities are operating, and they can do work like roofs or plumbing, or provide vacation Bible school, or provide inoculations if they're medically trained people, or provide a witness if they're an advocacy ministry. That's the thumbnail. I wasn't actually prepared for that question, but that's my recollection of the response. How did I do, Aaron?
Well, I just wanted to raise awareness that there is the possibility for future work, that there are emergency response teams formed in our conference. I took the training for that, but the motto of the ERT people is when the badges have left. So after the police, firemen, and ambulances have gone, they stabilize things, but it's not long-term recovery, which is what VIM is, in my understanding.
Right. It's funny they say when the badges have left, because ERT has a badge. So, I don't know whether I was holding that that's out.
It was good.
All right. Yeah, that's an important ministry of our conference. Bob Simcox is the ERT coordinator, and he's our disaster response coordinator in Eastern Pennsylvania Conference. I keep correcting him because often he says he's the disaster coordinator, and I say, no, Bob, you're the disaster response coordinator. You don't coordinate the disasters. You coordinate the response to them. So,
right.
Yeah, that's an important ministry. I hearken back, even though it's probably getting to be a long time ago now. Our ERT and volunteer in mission response to Hurricane Katrina down on the Gulf Coast some years back. That was really a time when our conference shined. The Pennsylvania conferences sent more teams than any other conference any other collection of conferences, I think, in the United Methodist Church. So, and our ERTs, there were a few of our ERTs who were able to get down there as well, very early on. But our volunteers in mission groups were actually going down just a little bit before it was proper, because the need was so great. And because the desire to respond was so great as well. So, well, let's come wrap back around now to the virtual mission. So during the next few months, there's still the possibility for a virtual mission. I would imagine that there'll also be hybrid mission possibilities off into the future. But I'd like to describe for you now a couple of missions that are close by as you anticipate coming out of the pandemic restrictions and looking for something you might wish to present to your congregation as a mission opportunity that is close to home, that you could go for a day or a weekend or a week, and it would be close by. So let me see if I can cue this up. All right, it's going to take me just half a moment more. See if I can do this correctly now. All right, now you must be looking at.
Midtown Parish United Methodist Church is located at the corner of 7th and Norris Streets in the heart of North Philadelphia, just a hop, skip, and a jump from the Temple University main campus. For almost 190 years, the church has remained a focal point of local missions in the community. Over the years, the church effectively reached out to the neighborhood, providing resources such as daycare, after-school programs, and youth discipline through sports and spirituality, amongst other activities and programs. This congregation has a special place in our Methodist hymnody. Do you know "In the Garden," number 314 in our United Methodist Hymnal, 1988? Inspired by the Gospel of John, chapter 20, this hymn celebrates the joyous companionship its author, C. Austin Miles, experiences with Jesus as he walks through the garden. Miles was a great part of the music ministry of Midtown Parish. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Midtown Parish, UMC, has a vision of a future in North Philadelphia where a solid 3-story house can become a parish house and youth lounge. And the church will continue to effectively reach out to the neighborhood, providing resources such as daycare and after-school programs and youth discipline through sports and spirituality, among other activities and programs. This project is within our conference and a part of our priority to keep the United Methodist Church present in a dynamic part of Philadelphia. You are needed. Your support, your effort, your skills, your prayers, and the joy we share as we labor there, well, that we share with God and our neighbors.
All right, now I'm back. I'm just not on screen here. Let me get that out of the way. Oh, there we are. All right, greetings. That was a little video I whipped up this morning just to see if I could find a handy way of describing Midtown Parish to you. But that's well within the conference borders there, and that's something that you know, if you have a volunteers in mission team or any volunteers in mission interested persons in your congregation, a long day or a weekend spent there would certainly be assisting with a vitally important mission emphasis of our conference.
So can we turn the question around on you and ask you how you have continued your mission during this time?
Well, how I've continued my mission at this time is not very effectively. You know, I've been involved in coordinating a number of things with the conference that have to do with response to the pandemic, writing grants, trying to secure hand sanitizer early in the pandemic, canceling a lot of programs that had been scheduled, and you know, as each one came due, recognizing that the pandemic hadn't lifted yet. It's been a very uncoordinated experience, as you might well imagine from things that you've been doing at work or at your churches. You know, we did start out shutting down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. I don't know if you remember that last year, but it ended up being somewhat longer than 2 weeks. So it's been ineffective. It's been uncoordinated, but you know, over the course of the last couple of months, with the introduction of virtual missions, and with the anticipation of the pandemic restrictions lifting, we're starting to see signs of new life as far as mission is concerned. So it might be a little disappointing, Jason, but that's the truth.
That's fair enough. I mean, you know, my mission's a little bit different, but I wanted to get some insight in how other people have been handling that kind of situation.
Yeah. So, well, so that's right there in North Philadelphia, just by Temple University. Now, there's another one that's not too far away, and that's down in Dover, Delaware. I'd like to introduce to you the possibility of a, let me just see if I've got, all right, there we go. And Wesley United Methodist Church in Dover, Delaware has a housing rehabilitation ministry. Milford Housing Development Corporation home repair program. And here they're ready to receive teams for weekends or week-long, well, they will be when the pandemic restrictions lift. But just a little tool down I-95, and you can be involved in a Volunteers in Mission project that's right over the border in Delaware. The facility where a team would stay is a pretty comfortable place. And it's within easy striking distance of where home repairs from simple things, tidying backyards, removing debris, up to more complicated things like plumbing, electrical work, or roofing take place. So this is not too far outside the borders of the conference, and it's also within the yoked bishopric of Peggy Johnson. So we're not going too far. Anyway, now let's see. On my list of things to do with you today, I have, let's see. So this is the part where I force you to interact. Let's see now. I don't know whether I've proven it to you yet or not, but I'm not a natural born Zoomer. No, I just did the wrong thing. Just a second. All right, now, are you looking at a screen that says what mission is immediately outside your church doors?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah, I was successful. Ah, that was a moment of anxiety for me, friends. Has your church been involved in making cleaning kits or hygiene kits for Mission Central or UMCOR?
Yes.
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 Well, here's an interesting idea. The next time you make one of those, the next time you're making cleaning kits or you're making hygiene kits, how about having a neighborhood holdback that if your church has a cleaning kit or a hygiene kit on that's kept on premises, the next time there's a family in your neighborhood that experiences some upheaval, a fire, a water main break, you're simply walking up the street with something very helpful. And you don't really have to stay long. You just have to say hello and drop it off. And all of a sudden, you're the church that came and offered something that was very useful. So I wonder, over the course, if you think about the last 2 years, think about the last 2 years in the neighborhood of your church. What's happened in within a mile radius of your church over the last 2 years, and what could you have on hand at your church that would be an outreach, that would be a ministry to offer? Have you had a house fire within a mile of your church over the last 2 years?
We haven't distributed cleaning kits locally, but when COVID hit, we partnered with 2 other local churches and utilized our education buildings for latchkey children whose parents were not available to supervise them during the shutdowns.
Ah,
Each
beautiful.
of our local churches had 3 classrooms of socially distanced students that were using their school issued computers and laptops to stay connected to schoolwork. Obviously, that's no longer going on because they're going back to school, but I thought that was a pretty useful step up. A lot of parents in higher income tiers were able to work from home. People at lower economic jobs had to go into work to accomplish tasks, and their students weren't supervised. So that we were one of the churches that stepped up.
Vitally important work there, Bern.
Russell, our church here in Whitehaven is part of the emergency management system here in the Whitehaven area, and it's a very, very active group. About 10 years ago, thank goodness it hasn't happened recently, but about 10 years ago, we had 4 busloads of Penn State students that were traveling to a game, and there was a horrific bus accident. We're like 5 minutes from the turnpike, less than 5 minutes from the interstates. So we're kind of centrally located there. And so those busloads of students came to our church. We always keep, frozen eggs, those kinds of things. Because of that, in our freezers, we changed them out, of course, obviously, but we also had cots that were located on in a different area, and we brought those in. They stayed overnight. It was a really troubling scene. It was, but I was so grateful that we were able to, give those kids shelter till they could contact. This was before a lot of them had cell phones, so they were using the phone at the church to try to contact their parents. And I was just so grateful that we were right here, that we
going back further than 10 years.
And take care of them overnight. Most did not sleep, but some did, and it was a really good experience. It felt good. I hope it never happens again, obviously, but we're here. We also participate in the food pantry. This small town of Whitehaven supports over 85 families that are without jobs, and our church is a big part of, and is one of the members from our church is the director of the food pantry. So we feel like we're trying, we're doing our best. We're doing our best, but we're always open, for new ideas as well. But that's kind of our story. We're part of that EMA team locally here to make sure that we're in touch.
Well, that's beautiful, Diane. There's a way of thinking about volunteers in mission where it's a specially collected team of people who are going away to do a special job, a special ministry. There is a respect in which, as we step out our door and as we step out of our churches into the neighborhood, there's every potential of being a volunteer in mission. So I have 2 more things that I'd like to share with you. And then I think we can declare victory. I don't know if anyone has an especial desire to get to lunch sooner than 12:15, but I'm certainly happy to stay until 12:15, but I just have these 2 things to share with you. So let me see if I can cue this up. All right, now. Well, you've all been very gracious about, there we go. Is everyone looking at UMVIM guidelines for US project sites?
Yes.
And leaders?
Mhm.
All right. So this was revised just a couple of, last month. And I'm happy to, I have all of your email addresses, so I'm happy to send this along to you. But it's just the consciousness we have of COVID. It would be a shame if United Methodist activity were identified as being something that increased the transmission rate of COVID. So how do we know when it's time to get back into the field? Well, one of the things is we want to be confident that we're not going to be transmitting COVID. This you can't reasonably read it in the amount of time that we have. I just wanted to throw it up here for you to get a general look at it, and then I'll email it to you so that you know. And I don't know whether, yeah, I'm afraid the blue things that you might wish to click onto, I'll see what I can do about. I don't know that those links would be operative when I send you the hard copy, but I'll see if I can find a way for you to get those as well. At any rate, just so you know, there's for those of you who have active volunteers in mission lives, and you're wondering about any direction from the organization regards how to know it's reasonable to go back out. I'll make sure that you get a copy of these. And the last thing I'd like to share with you . Okay, I know. Here it is. This is the answer to all the questions that you ever have about volunteers in mission. This is the web page, umvim.org. umvim.org. Now we have a nationwide volunteers in mission website. It used to be the East jurisdiction was maintaining its own, but now all of the jurisdictions within the United States have this volunteers in mission website. You can learn about the history and the staff of, oh my goodness, you can even go shopping. All right. You can learn about how to become involved in various aspects of volunteers in mission. And well, let's have a look at the resources. So there are things that you can go to that will help as you're putting together a team and trying to understand the work. But this is really what I wanted to show to you. How to look for a project. And here we are, right off the main page. Select a project. All right. Ooh, just a second. Pardon me, that's a problem with, yeah, sorry about that. That's a problem with my computer. Let me just bring up the website again. All right, here we are. Sorry for the delay. So you can see there's international projects, and this describes the kind of work in each of the countries. So there's the nation, and then there's the type of work, and then a description of the places that within the nation, and then just simply, is this in North America, South America, Africa, Asia? So let's look at US projects. So you can see various ministries here. Appalachia Service Project, one that is known to many a congregation in Eastern Pennsylvania. Alabama Rural Ministry, Alabama Gleaning Network. And, you know, you can scroll down here quite a way and find various things. So, UMVIM.org is a way to see rapidly where you might be able to be involved in a mission. Well, friends, boy, it was almost like delivering a sermon. I did most of the talking. This is your last shot. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please do. Thank you very much for your generous attention. I suppose it's pretty obvious. This isn't my native communication method. So I'm glad you all stuck with it, and I hope that right soon you're involving your congregations in volunteers in mission projects, either in-house or somewhere around the world.
So will you be sending us some of the either the slide presentation or the other resource that you showed us? I think it was the Word document.
Well, Francis, I'm happy to. I will promise you this. I will send the guidelines that were on the document.
That's it. That's what I'm thinking of. Yes.
And then you'll have my email address. If there's something else that you'd like me to share, I'm happy to do that. It's just, to my mind, the stuff looks sloppier the way I'm looking at it than perhaps it looks to you. I'm happy to send specific things to you after I've had a chance to make sure that my mother would be happy with my work. If you know what I mean.
I didn't pre-register with you, so can I just send you my name and email?
Please do. R. Atkinson at EPA.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You know what? I could put that in the chat feature.
I just put mine in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, if I knew how to. JP Walters.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I've got your email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew. Well, friends, God bless you in all of your ministry. And I commend to you the Ministry of Volunteers in Mission.
Great. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
now.
you. It was a beautiful presentation. Thank you.
Stay well.
All right now. A good day. God bless.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Nice meeting you all.
And you also. Thank you.
Thanks.